Oh my god!
This is the WowGo 3. Last time I showed you a prototype. There were a couple of minor issues, but WowGo has since fixed those issues. So let's now take a look at every part of this board, starting with the deck. The WowGo 3 uses a flexi deck made of bamboo and fiberglass. It's more flexi than the boosted Stealth, and to me it feels similar to the loaded Vanguard on the 2nd gen boosted board. Because of its flex, I feel like it's great for carving and pumping. A flexi deck is not necessarily better than a stiff deck. It really all depends on personal preference and what kind of riding you want to do. If you like to ride really fast, you might prefer a stiff deck. I personally ride around 20 to 30 kilometers per hour most of the time, so a flexi deck is perfect for me. The bounciness of the deck also makes it more comfortable over rough roads. The front wheels on the WowGo 3 are basically boosted wheels. If you put them side by side, you'll see that they're very similar. The differences are that WowGo's wheel is 90mm and uses ABEC 11 flywheels core. The back wheels are of course hub motors, and they use these interchangeable sleeves. They're not like the front wheels, they feel a lot harder. I mean, even if the polyurethane on the sleeves are soft, it still feels kind of hard because it's so thin. On the prototype, the back wheels would make a bit of a flapping sound. It sounded kind of like this. But they fixed that issue. And I think they fixed that by making this inner ring just a tiny bit smaller. And as a result, it's also a little bit more difficult to remove. So WowGo now includes this tool. It kind of looks like a cup holder. I'm not really sure how to use it, but I guess when I need to use it, I'll figure it out. The front truck is an authentic Paris V2. If you're not familiar with Paris trucks, you should be, because they are very, very popular and they're considered great for carving. The back truck is a Paris clone. On the prototype, there was a minor issue where the kingpin wasn't lined up in the center. I had to pull up the truck a little bit to get the kingpin centered, but they've since fixed that issue. I think they might have just changed the pivot cup. I'm not really sure, but they fixed it. Something that WowGo does differently from other brands is that they ship their board with all barrel bushings. Most boards use a standard combination of barrel and cone, but WowGo is using all barrels, which I think is a good idea because electric skateboards, they go faster than normal boards, so you want that extra stability. WowGo 3 uses a custom Hobbywing ESC. Hobbywing's ESC gives you really smooth and intuitive control. It's really, really good. When it comes to budget electric skateboards, Hobbywing seems to be the only good option for ESCs. For whatever reason, there doesn't seem to be another good one. It's always Hobbywing. And just to be clear, not every budget electric skateboard uses Hobbywing's ESC. There is another flavor called the Li Ying or Yi Ling or Ying Li. I don't know, I've seen people spell it so many ways. I'm not really sure what to call it, but it seems to be either that or Hobbywing. I don't know why there's no other option. Anyway, WowGo uses Hobbywing and it's really good. WowGo has their own remote with a telemetry display. It looks kind of like the standard Hobbywing remote, but it doesn't have the forward and reverse switch. To go into reverse, you click on the power button twice. The telemetry display is pretty nice. It's very similar to the one on the backfire. It tells you how fast you're going, how far you've gone since you purchased the board. Right now I'm using metric units, but you can also set it to use imperial units. Originally, the battery indicator wasn't very accurate, but now it's a lot better. So when it tells you that you're low on power, you're actually low on power. WowGo 3 uses hub motors. Here are some additional info. I personally prefer a belt drive system, but hub motors do have their benefits. If you don't like to announce to everyone that you're riding an electric skateboard, you might like hub motors. They are very quiet, especially when you're on a very, very smooth road. So if you live in a place where electric skateboards are not allowed on the roads, having hub motors is definitely beneficial. I'm definitely not encouraging you to break the law. Follow your local laws, but you know. If you're riding on a bumpy road or just very rough asphalt, it's still gonna be kind of noisy because the urethane is so thin around the motors. Another thing about hub motors is that you would need to be more careful when you're riding over a bumpy surface, especially if you're turning, because you're not gonna have as much grip. Even if the PU sleeves are soft, they're very thin, so they don't do as good a job compared to a soft, regular longboard wheel. The hub motors on the WowGo 3 have interchangeable sleeves. Like I said earlier, you can use their tool to take off the sleeve and change them. The sleeves only come in one size though, which is 90mm. The WowGo 3's battery is a 6 amp hour 10S2P made up of Samsung 30Q cells. The 30Q cells are considered very good for electric skateboards. They offer a good balance of discharge rate and capacity. Batteries that use 30Q cells also tend to have lower voltage sag, meaning when the battery is low on power, you still get a decent amount of torque. The batteries are interchangeable. All you have to do is undo these 6 screws and take off the enclosure. If you order a spare battery, it actually comes with the enclosure. So if you change batteries, you're actually changing the entire battery and enclosure as one unit. The torque and acceleration on the WowGo 3 seems to be a little bit better than its closest competitors. According to Skate Metric, WowGo's 5 to 15 mile/hour time is almost the same as the boosted Stealth. You can see here that the straight line performance of the two boards are very similar. Just for comparison, here's the WowGo 2S. WowGo has specifically tuned the WowGo 3 to have strong mid-range torque. What that basically means is that you can ride very aggressively. A lot of boards have strong low-end torque. That means that when the board starts moving, it feels very strong. But once it's already moving, it doesn't feel that strong anymore. But with the WowGo 3, it's different. Once you get moving to around 20 kilometers per hour, the torque still feels quite strong. That's something that I really like about boosted boards. And with the WowGo 3, it's very similar.
Oh my God.
Subscribe. The top speed on the WowGo 3 is 38 kilometers per hour. Now, if you're comparison shopping, you might see that WowGo's competitors, they're moving the top speed higher and higher, like 40, 42, 45 kilometers per hour. But if you've never been on an electric skateboard, 38 kilometers per hour is still really fast. I know there are some people who are like super hardcore. They like to go 40, 50, 60 kilometers per hour. I'm not one of them. And even if this board could go that fast, I don't think it should anyway. It's not designed for that. The deck is flexy, the Paris truck is a very lively truck. It's not really the right setup for high speeds. 38 kilometers per hour, I think it's totally fine for this board.
That's maybe too many people here.
The brakes on the WowGo 3 have been improved since the prototype. I think they're pretty good. I don't have a problem with them. They're not the strongest brakes I've ever used, but they're good enough. Would I like them to be stronger? Yes, but they're strong enough. If you're concerned about brakes being too strong, you don't have to worry about it. If you want to brake gently, you just brake gently. Just don't pull back on the brake lever that hard. You know, it's like a car. You want to brake a little bit, just brake a little bit. You want to brake harder, you brake harder. You're in control. That doesn't apply to all boards, by the way. WowGo uses a Hobbywing ESC, so that's why you're able to have very fine control over your braking strength. Not every board is like that. The WowGo 3 weighs 8 kilograms, which is similar to its competitors, but a little bit on the heavy side. Not by much though. When I'm not riding the board, I usually pull it by holding the front truck. If I have to go up and down stairs, carrying it by the front truck is kind of annoying, but I don't have a handle on this board. If you want a handle, you can actually request it when you're ordering the board. I personally prefer no handle because I'm not sure if the handle would break after some time, but the handle definitely makes carrying the board more convenient. It magically makes the board feel lighter. The water resistance of this board should be pretty good. If you're just riding over puddles, it should be pretty unlikely for water to get inside the enclosures. But even if water does get inside, WowGo has put glue over all the vulnerable areas. I would still avoid riding on water though. I mean, when you're using these types of wheels, it gets really, really slippery. The WowGo 3 comes in 2 different designs. When you're ordering, you can choose orange or black. I have the orange version, so this is the one I'm going to talk about. This design is very obviously inspired by the Boosted Plus. Some people might even call that copying. Now, is that really a bad thing? I don't know, maybe, kinda, sorta. But look at the iPhone and every other smartphone. They all kind of look like the iPhone. Look at SUVs, they all kind of look alike. Look at televisions, they all kind of look like that. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that more boards don't look so much like the boosted board. I mean, I'm not trying to encourage that, but look at every industry. Product designs tend to copy products that do very well. I feel like WowGo just happens to be the first board that copies the boosted so directly. And the result is that the WowGo 3 is a pretty good looking board. It's not entirely a copy though. Like if you look at these enclosures, they do have some original design. Like I think these lines on the enclosures are pretty cool. They kind of remind me of Wonder Woman actually. The lines on the grip tape, I feel like they're kind of random because they don't use this design anywhere else, but that's just me nitpicking. Overall, I think it's a pretty good looking board.
I mean, it's technically not completely out of battery yet, but I think it's close enough. 23 kilometers.
For the range, I got 23 kilometers on my most recent ride. It's pretty close to what I would expect for a 6 amp hour battery. We were riding kind of slow though because of traffic, and when it got dark we couldn't really see, so we had to go slow. If I were riding out in the open in daylight and without much traffic, I would probably get closer to around 20 kilometers. Again, my weight is 69 kilograms. If I'm riding really fast and really aggressively, it might be closer to 15, 16 kilometers. If I'm riding super slow, might get close to 30. The range can vary a lot. It depends on how you ride, your weight, traffic conditions, hills, the weather. I don't know, there's like a whole bunch of things that can affect the range. So when you're comparing the range of different boards of the same type, you should really compare the amp hours, or maybe the watt hours, one of those. So generally speaking, a 6 amp hour battery should have more range than a 5 amp hour battery. Overall, I really like this board. Like I said before in the other video, this is not exactly an innovative board, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, it's using a lot of good parts. The deck is good, the trucks are good, the front wheels are good, the battery is good, the enclosures are good, the ESC is good, the hub motors are hub motors. So overall, it's a really good hub motor board. What else can I say? I mean, it's good. It's really good. It's so hard to do this without a script. I'm just like saying whatever comes off the top of my head. If you watch my footage from beginning to end, it's so disorganized. So I don't know, I'm gonna have a hard time editing this, but we'll see what happens.